Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Housing Tips. It's the show where we talk about different housing tips, different housing information, different news articles, and everything about housing. My name is Eric, and I'm your host. And today, as once again, my co host is Jesse.
How's it going, everyone?
Awesome. How are you today, Jesse?
Doing good, man. How are you doing?
Doing good. Can't complain. We both live in Southern California, but it's been very hot recently. I think it's been, what, over 90s every single one of these days.
Dude, it's been scorching, but I'm running the AC, so I feel good.
Oh, that's awesome. What do you normally do when it's hot outside? What is your favorite thing to do to cool yourself off in California?
When it's hot outside, I stay inside. No, I'm just kidding. My mom, she has a pool, so like I'll probably be like, "Hey, mom, can I, kind of peruse and use your pool and kind of jump in?" But once you get out, it's hot again, so it's a never-ending story.
I know it's very crazy. I agree. I think California is by far one of the uh, best feeling states when it's cold outside, but during the summertime, it is quite scorching, especially Southern California. I know that Northern California and the Bay Area, they have an entirely different summer than us, but it just all depends. But yeah, actually, speaking of scorching heat right now, I do want to move us into our first question and our first topic today, and that is of the recent wildfires that are happening throughout the state. First article I wanted to talk about today was the wildfires that are leaving California's housing market in trouble. And one of the big things that I've noticed, especially while reading this article, is about how I really feel that having wildfire insurance, especially in Southern California, especially in areas where it's extremely warm and wildfires can happen at any moment. What are your thoughts about the increase of housing premiums insurance, especially fire insurance, which is something that even myself, I don't have. I don't know if you have it on your properties, but I know it's definitely something in California where it's either one or the other, but you have to purchase it separately.
Right. The, I mean, biggest concern, there's been increases in premiums. There's been companies that no longer are writing up any like new policies. And so, I mean, in SoCal, we're prone wildfires, earthquakes, floods. And so due to the severity of that, they're adjusting premiums and just to cover those potential losses. I won't name companies. Well, I will. I know that State Farm no longer writing any new policies, and so I know AAA is taking in a lot of those policies, but they're a lot more you know specific in the criteria, or they're a little bit more stricter in what they need to look at. Like for example, my house, the backyard, you've been to my house, all the nice trees and all that stuff, that's a concern because of the fires at the beginning. They didn't want to write me up a policy, and at that time, this was before all the increases. They were needing to kind of do business and they're able to make things happen, but it's been a huge challenge just going back to cost of construction repairs. So with inflation, supply chain issues, cost of building material, it surged. And so when a disaster occurs, rebuilding, repairing homes is going to be really, really expensive.
Interesting. That's actually a great point that you bring up because, I mean, as someone who doesn't live in a house, I live in a condo. We don't have to have insurance for the outside of the house, but I have
Mm.
seen a lot of insurance companies, especially on other YouTube channels, on other articles, is that sometimes if you even have a couple of trees at your house, they'll tell you, hey, you want to have those trees, you're going to have to pay a higher premium
Yeah.
just to have those trees. And a lot of people say, well, looks like it's all going to be cactuses or something. Have you seen that in your professional experience, or just with your own experience with housing?
Just in regards to my personal just with my rental home, if like my fascia was a little bit, the paint was peeling, and that was a concern, and so my policy got canceled, and so I needed to like fix the fascia. For my primary home, I have a small little pine tree, and so the branches were kind of near the property, And so I had to do like make those adjustments and then show them proof, or they will come out and scope the property. But yeah, they're like really strict. Like I think your average person might be and just kind of say that's not a problem. Like that doesn't look like an issue, but for them, they just want to, double check and kind of make sure on everything.
Definitely. Now, is it true? And this is something I've just heard. I've never experienced it yet because I haven't bought a house yet. Is it true that sometimes these insurance companies will come with little drones and they'll fly over your house and
Mm.
record and they'll say, "Hey, you have these trees are too close to your house. We're gonna raise your insurance premiums because we flew a drone over and these leaves are too close, or you keep too many sticks in the backyard and all that." Have you ever heard about that, or is that just something that's the hooga booga?
I haven't heard about it, but I think they do. I think they
Wow.
do some sort of measure to kind of check, because I remember my first property, they had photos of like the side and the front, and I was working from home and my window looks outside. I didn't see anyone, like not to say that I'm always like
Wow.
creeping outside looking through the blinds, but I didn't see anyone. I'm like, how in the world did you guys see the backside? And so there's there's some FBI going on over there.
Wow. That is such an interesting thought process where the insurance, because I do agree. I'm very much someone that believes, as someone who's had to deal with home insurance before with a claim in my house, it's definitely a lot of work, and having insurance helps out a lot, but there's just so many hoops to jump through compared to car insurance, for instance. In your professional experience, what do you think about fire insurance? As someone like myself, I feel like it's worth it. I just feel like it's just way too expensive for the average person to afford. But what are your thoughts about wildfire insurance or earthquake insurance? Those are almost
Yeah.
synonymous now in California.
Yeah. I mean, wildfire is important. You're needing to kind of do that one. The earthquake usually is the optional one.
Mhm.
Um, I've gotten quotes just to kind of compare like with my property, and it adds up. It makes it really really difficult, for some individuals, and so that then has an impact on home affordability. Just those insurance premiums, that's another layer of like financial strain for homeowners, especially in a region where just housing costs are already high. And so that deters just buyers. It slows down the market, or just can even push homeowners to sell. Um, I know all insurances. I mean, you're talking about car insurance, health insurance. I feel that we've seen a huge increase in all those premiums.
Wow, and that is actually something that I truly think is becoming even more important as well, especially with some of these insurance premiums per month costing hundreds of dollars per month. It really affects the affordability. Like you and I were talking about, I run the AC constantly. I know that you run the AC constantly, and that's something a lot of people in California have to think about is it worth it to buy this house in a hotter climate, but then I have to run the AC all day? What are your
Does
thoughts about
your
that?
does your HOA cover electricity, or what does your
I
HOA
wish
cover?
it did. That would be fantastic. I've
You just run
seen
it nonstop, huh?
I've seen that there are HOAs that do cover electricity. So currently mine covers uh, any repairs on the outside. So if the roof
Okay.
leaks or something happens on the outside, they cover the water for the landscaping. They cover the landscaping and they cover trash. But then my HOA isn't as expensive as I've seen other HOAs, especially some of the HOAs that I'm seeing out there nowadays that are almost 1,000, especially in Orange County. I've seen $1,000 HOAs like it's nothing.
Yeah.
But I think they do cover water, or they do cover something, because at $1,000 a month just in HOA fees, that really affects the home affordability.
Yeah. And that's a number that's not fixed, right? So depending on the HOA meetings, depending on repairs or plans that the HOA is doing or is going to do, that could go up. Has your HOA ever gone up since you've been in
Actually,
your property?
that is a fantastic question, and it did actually.
Did it?
We bought our place, and within the first 3 months, we got it. Our HOA. I think our HOA is around 350 ish around. But when we first got our place, we thought to ourselves, "Oh, this is cool." I think it was 275 or something, or 250 when we first got it, And we were like, this is cool, so when you're doing your budgets, you're like, this goes to HOA, this goes to electricity. But yeah, and then all of a sudden I just got a letter in the mail that said, oh, your HOA is going up $100 a month because we're at a deficit. And it's like, dang. Now, and that's something even for myself, I think that with HOAs, there is some positives, but there's also some negatives as well. So one of the, positives that, yeah, they cover the insurance, they make sure it looks nice, they do landscaping. And one of the big things I didn't even think about that one of my buddies told me about was, okay, so we're paying $350 a month. If you multiply that by 12 months, you're paying what, $5,000 a year, maybe a little bit less than $6,000 a year,
Yeah.
just in HOA costs. But then, do you spend $6,000 fixing and maintaining your house throughout the year? So,
Yeah, I mean it depends on the individual. I think when you're in a community like that, there's a lot of pride, you know,
mhm,
or people want to be in a place that's you know maintained or upkeeping the neighborhood and kind of a uniform appearance and people that like the community amenities, the pools, parks, gyms, clubhouses, and so that's costly to maintain if it's just on your own. Signing
definitely.
up for extracurricular activities for your kids when you can have that near your home, and just aesthetics, right? The landscaping, or if it's trails and walks and things like that, and then you're able to have to dispute, like mediate if it's between neighbors. And so that can be like a really structured way to resolve conflicts. Now, if you don't have HOAs, it there's certain areas where people like upkeep, they take pride in their neighborhoods, and others that don't, where like the lawn's completely, you know, just kind of messed up. You have like cars that are just parked there like forever. And so there's kind of like that, pros and cons, right? Monthly fees. Some people don't like rules and regulations. Some people, don't want to just paint their house only from the three subset colors. And so it's just kind of depending on who you are as a buyer, and who you are in regards to like your creativity, or what you want within your home.
No, definitely. I've noticed too that recently a lot of houses have HOAs. Is that something that a lot of new builds? And it actually segues great into our next article I'm going to share. But do you think as we keep building more and more houses, do you think that more and more houses will have HOA standard?
I think so, because we're seeing new construction. We're seeing properties that are closer to each other, like that townhome kind of style condo, or like the single family that are like 3 stories and are detached, but you don't have a yard, you don't have a front yard. I see that popping up everywhere. And so that's just based on space and land, and it's becoming really difficult for builders. And so I'm seeing those type of neighborhoods pop up with HOAs, and people trying to get into a property.
Interesting. So actually, that's actually a general question I didn't even have. Do you think as we build more houses and they're closer together, do you think HOAs are needed? Because in the past, because I know your two houses are built in the 70s, right? Or they built
Yeah, 60s,
80s,
70s.
70s, 60s. But they have a distance between the neighbors. But I know a lot of new builds don't. So I agree with you where it's almost they need to have HOAs because that's what stops these disputes where because the houses are so close together already. It's real easy for people to say, "Hey, no, this is my side. What are you putting here? What are you doing there?" But that's a very interesting thought that you brought up about that. That the smaller the units, the more likely they are to have an HOA. Interesting. But that is a great segue about housing construction because that's actually the second article that I want to talk about today that we found from thehousingwire.com. The feds need a housing market comeback. Housing construction data is heading in the wrong direction. And as someone who's trying to buy a house, but I've always learned there's only two ways to increase more housing. Either more houses are built or more people move out of their houses that are for sale. And I've always been under the understanding that you can't just build houses willy-nilly and you can't just throw up a bunch of houses. And that's actually what causes a lot of these housing market housing shortages and how there needs to be a comeback is because there just isn't enough permits being allowed to have new houses built. And this is for someone that has I have no experience in the business. I know there's a lot more to that, but as far as I know, is you can't build a house unless you have a permit. So, what are your thoughts about how more houses could be built, or how are some ways that the supply could increase?
Yeah, good question. I mean, housing supply can increase through so many different means. Number one, new construction, right? Building new homes, new apartments, new condos. That directly adds to the housing supply. So if it's single family, if it's multifamily, if it's well, not much in our area, but like high rise residential buildings, like that's crucial. Um, but yeah, anytime on a project you need to pull permits, there's a lot of different type of permits you need to pull. And before, it used to take a little bit longer through LA County, and now they've been trying to structure it and change where you can pull multiple at the same time. I'm not 100% expert on the permits. I do have contacts that you know work in LA County, know the permits, or work in housing. We can even bring them in on the show to educate a little bit. But now you can pull multiple at the same time to be able to kind of cut that time frame. So before, if it was 24, 36 months to get a project done, now they're trying to do shorter timelines. So I mean, that's a big one, new construction. But I think also like rezoning is something that could be like really important, like changing the zoning laws for higher density, or like different types of
Yeah,
housing that can lead to more housing units just built on the same amount of land. So
interesting. Now, before as someone I have a little bit of experience with zoning, but for
yeah,
anyone that's listening or watching, what is housing zoning? What's that?
yeah. So your zoning law then will allow how many units or what you can have like on your parcel. So if it's R1, then it's just like single family, and then there's like R2, R3, and a lot of different type of like zoning. And so, for example, if we're able to rezone like single family to multifamily zoning, then that can allow for apartment buildings instead of like just single family homes. But then you get the both sides of it, right? Like I'm here, I'm comfortable. You get person, and I don't want person next door to build, these amount of units. But that's something that's going to be like really crucial, or even like adaptive like reuse. If it's converting non-residential buildings, like imagining old factories, warehouses, or office buildings, and turning that into residential units, that can also increase the housing supply. So just some potentials that could be done.
Interesting. Yeah, no, definitely. I am a 100%, especially someone who was a first time home buyer, and it's been a long time since anyone in my family bought a property. So all of my family said, "No, you need to buy a single family home. That's the only way to do it." And for myself, and I know we talked about on our last podcast, which if anyone that's listening would love to see, we're going to put it down in the links below that you could check out our first podcast. But we talked about it, that a lot of people are actually looking towards getting condos or townhomes because as a stepway into home ownership, it is very, very easier than having a full single family home from right off the bat. Especially for myself, Jesse and I have talked about it, and I have no lawn to take care of. I have no like outside, craziness. If trash happens, someone will come and clean it up. Yes, there's a lot of rules. I have a pool, which is fantastic. I've never cleaned a pool here since I've been at this condo. My family also had a pool, and it is a lot of work to clean a pool.
No,
Especially
it's a lot
keeping
of
it.
work.
It's a lot of work, making sure that it's not like too much chlorine, not enough chlorine. Make sure the filters are going. Bugs get in there, leaves get in there. It's a lot of work maintaining a pool. But here it's fantastic. It's always clean. It's always ready to go. So that's something we talked about in our first episode. So if anyone that's watching would love to see our first episode, we will put it in the chat below. Changing subjects once more. I think today my hard changes are a lot harder than usual. Sometimes I have really good ways to segue into them, but today I don't have anything funny to say or moving into it. But our second half of the show that I wanted to discuss was Zillow. And as someone who uses Zillow almost every day that I'm looking for houses, or most people that are looking for houses, I know there's realtor.com. I know that there's Opendoor. Is that correct, Jesse? Is that another
Open doors
option?
one. Yeah.
But Zillow is the nicest for myself. As someone who has a lot of design experience, I think they do a fantastic job on making looking for houses almost look like it's a game, which is actually a great segue into today. We're going to be playing a Zillow game with Jesse, and we're going to test his knowledge of what the market is like currently in California. Eventually, we'll expand it and do it throughout the country, but I think the
Yeah.
first couple of times we'll do it in California, where he has a lot of experience, where he's been a real estate agent now for 10 years. But I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and we actually talk about how to use Zillow. For anyone that doesn't know how to use Zillow, it could be a lot, especially looking for a home. It is very overwhelming at first because every home is different. Every home has its own story. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a short little walkthrough on how to use Zillow, and from there, we'll definitely play a little game I made with Jesse, and hopefully we could stump him.
What do I
And
win? Do I win a prize if I do I have to get a certain amount of points or
if you can get, so there's gonna be four houses. So if
okay?
you can get three, and we'll come up with the rules closer. But I one of the things I want to do is, of the four, if you can get within $50,000 of them, and that's a big number. I think that's fair.
Okay.
A lot of them are pretty close in price. We'll definitely, but I did put a few that will stump you. So, but if you can get 3 out of 4, that would be fantastic.
I'm ready.
But yes, so let me pull up Zillow. So this is Zillow. Everyone from agents, from people like myself that know nothing about housing, that just want to learn or just want to research. This is how I actually found my condo. I don't know if Jesse, you found yours on Zillow as well, or if you use another website. All of them are pretty similar, like we talked about in our first podcast. Another shameless plug. First podcast, we talked about where the information from Zillow Housing gets posted onto the Zillow website, which is the MLS. And Jesse does a great job at explaining what the MLS is. Shameless plug, but it's going to be in the chat. So this is Zillow. And one of the main things about Zillow is actually it searches based on zip codes, based on cities, based on neighborhoods, addresses. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick walkthrough of how to use Zillow. So I'm just going to pull up Brea, and we're going to see every single house that is under $500,000 in Brea. There is none. It is a very sought after area. It is the very tip of Orange County, northern Orange County. It's a very, very nice area. So it's very rare to see anything for 500,000. But what you could do, especially with Zillow, you could actually expand it and delete it, and it'll actually show you everything that's in the area outside of Brea that's inside of the box. So we're looking at Phillips Ranch, Diamond Bar, Walnut, Covina, Pomona. There's a lot more options in those areas. So let's make it fun. Let's look at aspirational houses. Let's look at like 700,000. And as you can tell, a lot more houses pop up, but still nothing in Brea. It's a very sought after area. But let's just say that, let's push it all the way to 1 million. And there you go. Now you're starting to see different options of houses in Brea and Garden Grove. So we'll just zoom in a little bit more. What's great about Zillow as well is as you zoom in, it'll actually filter out the areas so that it just stays in this box. You can draw areas too. So if you want to stay in this area, you can just say, hey, I want to stay in that area, which I think is really cool. One of the tips that I do when searching for houses is, one, I always lower the price. There's no way I'm going to buy $1 million house, but so let's do like 600,000.
You can.
I definitely can, definitely. If somehow I could come up with 20% down, that's a lot of money. But
Subscribe to the
definitely
podcast, and then soon will happen.
we'll get there. But yeah, so one of the things that I always do when I search for houses is I always make sure to uncheck manufactured, lots of land, and I don't know why condos was unclicked, but one of the big ones is manufactured houses. What is a manufactured house, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, those are the ones that like mobile or manufactured or like on a permanent foundation. And interesting enough, I received an email from one of my lenders. Typically, you can't get financing unless it's attached to a permanent foundation. That's always been the case. And I'm actually going to jump on a call with the lender soon that there might be a program for financing. So maybe I'll
Wow.
have more information
Interesting.
next week. But yeah, think of like mobile home park or plot of land, they put the home, and they put it on permanent foundation.
Wow. So definitely that is something that a lot of people have a misconception of manufactured homes. They think they're not nice. This is one I just pulled up in Chino Hills, and it
Mhm.
is very nice.
That's
It's
beautiful.
especially, I'm like looking at this, like, wow, this is actually extremely nice. But like you were saying though, if it's not attached to a permanent foundation, you typically can't finance one of these.
Can't do financing, so you need to do all cash or call your relative to lend you some money.
Wow. See, that's so interesting. I never knew that. I always thought manufactured was an option for like first time home ownership, but unless it's attached to an actual land itself, you can't get a finance. Is it because at any time the company that owns the land could just say, hey, we no longer want this place?
Well, depending on the part, a lot of the times you lease the land and then you also pay like for your mobile home. So every place is different. There's some places where you also own the space, but in realtor lingo world, not on a permanent foundation, we can't do. And so
Interesting.
now recently got an email and going to touch base with the lender and maybe have some more information for you guys.
Wow. So as a manufactured home, and this is something that I've always thought about from my perspective is you have the home itself you have to pay for. So whether you get like a hard money loan or you have a family relative that you could rent the money from, but then you also have to pay a land fee too, correct? Where you're not just paying just the home itself when you actually purchase a home.
Well, the manufactured home is the one that's built in a factory, right? And then it
Mhm.
gets transported to whichever site's going to be used. Whereas the traditional site built home, piece by piece. So manufactured, it's in a controlled environment, and so they'll still work on construction, mobility, and things like that, and can customize and placement. And so there's people who bought in land, got a manufactured home, and was able to place it on their land. And so then they're just, able to make that usable land for them. So it varies. These homes can be in parks, you can put it on your land, you can a lot of different ways of placement for those type of properties.
Interesting. No, definitely. So it is an option for some then, especially like
Yeah.
retirees, I'm assuming, or people
Mhm.
that sold their house and now they have cash where they could park it into one of these and then they can just,
Yeah.
enjoy it. But man, this one's really nice though. I know we're just looking at it, but man, this was a really, really nice option of one. Very
It's a,
modern looking.
yeah, that's a beautiful island, and the
Yeah.
cabinets are gorgeous. The flooring is beautiful.
Oh man, it looks, if you take this out and put this into a single family home, this would be $1 million home right away.
I'll move in there right now.
I know, huh? Okay, so oh, and then one of the final things I actually did want to share about Zillow, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you can't, as someone our ages, we can't live in a 55 plus community, correct?
No, we can't. And so I think that's the benefit in regards to you're able to do your search, but then also your expert, the realtor that you work with, is trying to cut down all of the work that you're doing. And so on Zillow, you'll see bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. You might see open house or other details that come on, but then you won't see more like private remarks. And that's the information that we're able to see as a realtor and really help guiding you guys in the process and in the shopping process. If it's this is a probate, or this property is going to be a cash only, or there's something going on, and so that helps our filter search. So there's been times where I get sent like all these properties on Zillow, and then I'm like, I look at the remarks, I'm like, oh, that's going to be something that doesn't fit like your criteria, but it's okay. It just makes it a little bit difficult.
Interesting. No, that's so crazy to see, because that's actually something. When I first was looking at houses,
Mhm.
I was filtering, looking for all these places, and I never thought about getting a manufactured home because I didn't even know you couldn't even get a loan on a manufactured home. I didn't know you had to buy it
Mhm.
in cash almost. That makes sense why they're so cheap, well, relatively cheap, especially in California. But yeah, one of the big things that we would search for, and something that got us caught up, was we wouldn't click on hide 55 plus communities, so we would see these amazing deals on condos, I'm like, wow, they're so cheap, they're affordable, they're in a nice area, very, well-to-do area. But then, the second you scroll down, it says, 55 plus only community. So this is actually something new that I saw from Zillow that they added was, the ability to hide 55 plus communities. So that is awesome. But any other thoughts or different tips when using Zillow or Opendoor or Realtor.com, any of those websites before I move into the fun game?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be 100% transparent. Like all those apps, I don't use on a day-to-day basis. And it has the same information that I see, just I see more detailed information.
Yeah.
I'm able to
Since you're
pull
using
up,
the MLS, right? Is that what you're
yeah,
talking about?
yeah, I'm able to pull up if it's taxes, if just kind of to estimate to my buyers. I'm able to see when this property last, sold, um, any other, remarks or supplements or documents. And so it's a good template for people to see properties and then be in touch with your realtor. Um, but then we're able to really get more of that detailed information. So sometimes it's good to I always do both where I tell them, hey, go through your search during the week, anything pops your eye, feel free to send me. And then I also do my search. I do my search during the week and kind of see, but I get to know them once we go look at properties. I can right away like pick up what is it that you like, you know.
Interesting. No, and that's something that comes with experience. 10 years in the business,
Mhm.
you've owned multiple properties now, so it's definitely something that takes, it takes it's like every skill, like shooting a basketball. It's something you have to like learn over and over again. Speaking
Yeah.
of skills,
Uh-oh.
this next game we're gonna play is gonna test your skills on what the housing price currently, what you think the housing price is. So here's how the game's gonna work. So we're gonna have 4 different houses. See if you can get them right. We'll go one by one. If you can get them within $50,000,
Hmm.
then I'll buy you lunch. How about
Oh, okay.
that? 50,000. Actually, I think 50,000 might be a little bit too difficult. Let's say 100,000. You get within
100,000.
100,000.
Okay.
And because some of them do have the city that they're in. No cheating. I could see if you're typing away, trying to research a house quickly.
Okay.
But we'll see, what your thoughts are. We'll see what the price is, and then we'll go from there. How does that sound?
That sounds good. And I can pick any location of where I want lunch.
We'll talk about that off camera.
You guys saw that? He was a little bit quiet. Okay.
Okay, so let me share this. This one is a certain location. I will give you the hint after, but I can think just by looking at the images, is it more Southern California? Is it more the area? Let's add that to the game as well. If you can get the general
Mm,
area of where this house is located as well. So I don't want to touch anything because I broke it
sure.
last time, which one of the ones that I was
You
trying to
can touch
stump
it.
you
That's fine.
with. But take a
Okay.
look. I'll
See the
slowly go through the
outside.
images.
Okay. More desert kind of landscape. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to picture where. Okay. Mm,
Let me keep scrolling down.
okay.
Keep scrolling. I'm
Got
going through all of them.
the.
Scroll faster or slower? What do you prefer?
That's okay. Is that wood flooring or tile flooring? Let's see.
I can't click on the photos. You just have to just look and squint.
He's
If I
making it
click,
more difficult for
it'll
me,
show
guys.
the prices.
He wants me to lose. Okay. That's okay. Huge, huge dining table. Still lots of space. I'm gonna have you slow down. Okay.
Just slow down. Cool, no problem.
Tile flooring. We got the staircase. Okay. Okay. Hmm. You can scroll down a little bit.
Scroll down more. Cool. So yeah, it does have tile. I think before it was like that, which is something we'll talk about in a later episode is the different
Hmm.
types of flooring options. And this is actually something I
Yeah.
have experience on as
Mm.
someone who had to redo the floors of my condo. So we'll do a whole discussion, a whole episode on different flooring options as well. Yeah, and this has a
Okay.
lot of images. Sometimes these
It's a
properties
lot.
have no images, but this one has
Okay.
a lot of images.
Recessed lighting, kitchen. Okay. I see the island. It's pretty nice. Basic, like simple. Like, okay.
Rooms are kind of small.
A little bit small. Carpet.
Oh, that's nice though. I like how it has a
That couch.
what are these called? No, not the couch.
That's
But
the couch looks nice. It looks
oh,
staged.
you can't see my cursor, but
Oh, okay.
how the staircase has that. Is it like called a banister?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Bathroom,
Ooh, wow,
pretty simple.
that backyard though, that could
It's
be
nice.
changing the area of your thought of. Maybe you thought it was South Orange County,
Uh,
but looking at it has a big backyard. It has a shed. Ah, this is a really nice backyard. Really big backyard. I'm sure some of our listeners that are looking at this say that's a small backyard, but in Southern California, that's a
yeah,
very large backyard.
it's big too. 2,212 square feet. That's
Nice.
pretty
Ooh,
big.
look at this. Look at this. Okay, you can't see
Mm,
in my scrolls, but
yeah.
where the red car
Now
is,
I
you see
can.
how big that drive through is. I mean, that area
Okay.
is. Okay,
I guess 3 bed, 4
so we're gonna put it. So first thing to question. First thing, let's see if you get the location. What location do you think this
location.
area is?
Mm, Does it give you city or just kind of like area or county?
County's easy,
Okay.
but let's do county and city. Let's make it general area, city. And if you can get to the city, that would be pretty awesome.
I'm gonna say Riverside County.
Interesting. Actually, don't know. What city do you? I mean, I know the city this was in. I don't know I don't know the county if that's the county or not.
City. I'm gonna do wild guess. I don't know, but Moreno Valley.
Interesting. That's actually really close. So you're saying
Yeah.
Moreno Valley?
Mm-hmm.
So your guess is going to be Moreno Valley.
Okay.
So, and then what price do you think? Before I give you the answer to the price and
That's
also
fine.
the
I don't think I'm right on the city, but see now you're adding more. But you told me price, okay? But price, I'm gonna say 6. That already sounds wrong. I'm gonna say 699.
$6.99. So I'm gonna add it to the
Lock it in.
ticker. I'm gonna add it to the bottom ticker, and then we can go from there and see. So
Okay.
we're gonna add that. Let us show the ticker. So you think it's $6.99? Is that?
I already
is that
want to
a
change
final
my
guess?
answer, but yeah.
No, you've already said it. So the city is actually Fontana.
Fontana.
Well, it's pretty close actually. When you
Ooh.
say Moreno Valley, it's relatively close.
Okay.
And then if we go down in the price, oh, you actually can't see it. Interesting. Or can you see it? No, you can't.
No,
Let me turn off this.
but I trust you.
The price is 719,000.
719.
You're very close. Very,
You said
very
you said
close.
100,000, so I'm good.
Okay, that's one. We're only gonna do three
That's
now.
2. I
because
counted the first
the
one.
first one does not count. Okay, so we got the first one going. So we'll do one more. We'll do one
Okay.
more.
There
So
we
this
go.
one is in Tustin,
Okay.
and then this one is in Chino Hills.
Let me
one do you
try the
wanna do?
Chino Hills one.
Chino Hills one? Okay. So I'm gonna go through it.
3 beds, 3 bath, 1284 square feet. Okay, that's a lot
Smaller,
less.
much smaller, but it's in Chino Hills. So Chino Hills is actually a little bit more expensive area
Okay.
of the Inland Empire. So I'm gonna
Ooh,
keep scrolling.
I like the color of the flooring. It's
Oh,
nice.
it's very nice. I like the
Yeah.
molding too. The molding is very nice on this house. But we're gonna go quicker because you guessed it really
Mhm.
well the first time.
That's
So
fine.
this one
Okay.
is gonna be,
He's
we're
cheating,
not gonna give you
guys.
as much time. You had too much time. You got way too close.
Okay.
This is Chino Hills.
Okay. Man, they did all the work in the garage. They didn't even,
I know they didn't finish all the housework, but then they didn't finish the garage.
yeah, all the paint spills. That's fine. This is a nice little place. I like it.
Okay. So what is your guess?
You went too fast. Okay, 3 beds.
Good. You're
You're
within $20,000 last time.
Chino Hills.
What is your guess?
I'm going to say 945.
945. So $945,000. That is your guess.
Yeah.
That is Jesse's guess. Okay, here we go. Let's see what the price is. Oh,
Ooh,
way off on that
that's a
one.
steal, guys.
Awesome though. But yeah, that's pretty good. 1 out of 2, that's not bad, especially if someone has 10 years
Yeah,
of experience.
yeah.
Let me just turn that off then. And now it's just back to me and you. Any other, thank you so much, Jesse, for playing these games with me, playing the Zillow game with me. Did you like it? We'll do more in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do the opposite. And then my goal is to get within
Mm,
500,000 of what the house is.
that's not fair. Okay, but I can find some properties and I'll see if I can stump you as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much, Jesse, for joining me today. Do you have any closing thoughts before we end this episode?
Any closing thoughts? No, I mean, any questions, you guys can let us know. Again, have it right here in those real estate team housing tips. I'll have an open house this weekend. If anyone wants to swing by, swing on by.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jesse, for your time. And once again, this is the housing tips. If any of the information today that you thought was interesting, please subscribe. Please add any comments. Until then, we will see you next week. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Thank you.